And now, on to Leading Edge Injury Law. This segment is a presentation of Attorney Paul Samakow. Attorney Samakow has 6 offices in our area to serve the community. Attorney Samakow is a personal injury lawyer. We all love to be behind the wheel, but due to bad traffic, inclement weather, distractions, or other disturbances, you can be involved in an automobile accident. But what happens then? Let's hear all about this from Attorney Samakow, who is questioned on screen by Dr. Rajesh Mehra.
Good morning. This is Dr. Rajesh Mehra, welcoming you to this section in our show where we bring out prominent professionals in our area to discuss and talk about topics that will help you in your daily lives and situations. This morning, I'm honored and privileged to have with me in our studios again, Mr. Paul Samakow. Welcome, Attorney Samakow.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We have been doing a series on what's called personal injury cases. Now, to define that a little bit, personal injury attorneys are specialist attorneys that only dedicate their whole day, their lives, in taking care of the injured person in different environments, just like you have lawyers that specialize in family law, corporate law, malpractice law. Mr. Samakow has been practicing for quite a while in this area now, right?
35 years.
35 years.
35 years.
Serving our community and taking care of people. We have been doing a series on insurances, how to write up a case, what are good cases. Today we want to discuss about time. Once a case is established, once you've been hit or had an injury occur, what is the timeline? How long does it take to settle? And what's involved is what I would ask you to explain to our audience today.
Okay, well, in terms of a discussion about time, Doctor, there are so many factors, but I'm going to try and give a global outline of what I consider to be a common sense answer to that. Mm-hmm. The first question that people have when they come to see me, one of the first questions they have when they come to see me is really, how long is this going to take?
Okay.
And the answer to that is, it depends on how long it takes you to get better. Mm-hmm. I don't want to, and I don't know any lawyer that would want to try and resolve a client's case financially, because at that point it's done. You can't reopen the case if you have a problem later on. I don't like to try and resolve a client's case financially with the insurance company for the other person that caused the accident. We call them the at-fault party. I don't like to do that if my client hasn't resolved medically to the point where they're pre-accident status, or if they have permanent injuries, they're as good as they're going to get. To do so doesn't make sense in my mind, or that of any attorney that does this type of work that I know of, because why would I settle the case in June if the client is still receiving medical treatment all the way through September? The injuries are still painful, they're debilitating, there's medical bills that have to be paid from June, July, August, and September. So to settle it in June cuts off a valid part of the claim, which should be compensated. And if you wait until October and November to begin the process of trying to resolve the case, now that the client is finished with their medical treatment in September, well, that makes more sense, because we can look back and see what happened. It's kind of like, I love using sports analogies.
Okay.
I don't know what the score of the baseball game is going to be in the first or the second inning. In fact, I don't even know who's going to win. I have my ideas who I want to win, and I can predict what I think the score might be based on the power of the teams, but you don't know.
You don't know.
That's why they play the game.
Right.
Well, okay, but after the game is over, I can tell you exactly. It was 9-4, and this team won. And this guy got 4 hits. I mean, I could go on, but you get the point.
Right.
So I don't know how long it's going to take, because I don't know how long my client is going to need medical treatment and care.
Okay, so that's one unknown.
That's one unknown.
Yeah, isn't another unknown how long the insurance company is going to take to settle? I mean, it's kind of in their best half not to settle for a while because of reasons that we've discussed before. The longer they keep that money in their escrow accounts, whatever accounts they're called,
right,
they'll be earning dividends and interest.
There's 2 parts of a claim, and I want to just really talk about the first part and move past it, because I'm more interested in you than I am in your car. The car resolution can take a few weeks or sometimes even up to a month because the insurance company wants to find out what happened. And that's reasonable. You can't ask them to pay for all the damage to your car if they're not 100% sure that they're in fact responsible for doing that. Many, many clients get very upset because they want to get their car fixed, and appropriately so. But moving past the issues of the car, because relatively speaking, that's a minor concern compared to you if it is that you have a significant injury. The insurance companies have no obligation to pay whatsoever or to resolve the case until they're asked to do so. In my business, in my profession, we call this a demand. So I will make a demand for a settlement when my client has gotten completely better, they're finished with all their medical treatment, and I'm making a demand when I have all the records from their treatment and care, all the bills from their treatment and care. My office staff just checked the balances because at the end, if we get money, I don't want to overpay a bill, won't have to wait for a refund, or underpay a bill so that somebody's then sending them a letter telling them you still owe us money. So there's a number of things that go on which in the normal processing of a normal case might take a month or two after the treatment has ended, which is not to say it always takes that long. Sometimes it's longer and sometimes we can expedite it and it's, you know, a week later we're ready to go. But
That's after the case is finished.
that's after they finish with their medical
About
treatment.
a month or 6 weeks.
A month, 6 weeks to get records and bills and check balances and check wage information if they've lost time from their job and document that properly, what have you. After that period of time, you make a demand for a settlement to the insurance company. Generally speaking, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks later, I'm on the phone with an insurance claims representative and we're discussing the settlement and the case is resolved.
That's it.
That's it. Now that's the average normal case. Obviously, there's exceptions to that. There are some cases which go much, much faster, and there's some cases which for many different reasons, you know, they just take longer. And is there delay on the part of the insurance companies? Absolutely. But the point is that generally speaking, when there's an attorney pushing them, they will act in a reasonable manner for the most part, most of the time, because the alternative is that, okay, if you're not going to play ball with me properly, if you're not going to act in a responsive and professional manner, fine. The heck with you, insurance company. I'll just file the lawsuit and go to court and we'll let a judge decide. And they don't want to go to court any more than we do.
And what happens then? The client or the customer has to testify as well?
The court process is one that, you know, is very complex, and it involves testimony from all the parties who were involved in the collision. Oftentimes the insurance companies and the defense lawyers who represent the people who were at fault in these collisions, they don't even bring the person who is at fault because they're admitting liability. What that means is they admit, yes, I agree that my client hit your client who was stopped at a red light. I agree.
There's nothing else to ask.
There's nothing else for them to testify about. But sometimes they come in because they'll want to have them just have their day in court so that person can say, oh yes, you know, after the accident, well, the other guy, he didn't say he was hurt, as if that's evidence that he was or he wasn't. That's ridiculous, but some people like to
say that.
They like just to come in and say it as if that proves something. Oh, it really doesn't. But there's a process of minor cases in Maryland and Virginia. Those cases typically would be heard in what's called a district court. And then there's the more serious, higher dollar value cases, which will take longer, and it's a more formal court setting. It's called the circuit court in both Maryland and in Virginia.
Well,
and
what is the difference between the two, district and circuit?
Generally, it's just a discussion about the potential value of a case. So that, you know, as an example, in the district court, you can only file a claim in Maryland, in Virginia, say up to $25,000. So if you believe you have a claim,
$1 million injury, then
then you have to go to the circuit court.
Right, I got it.
Exactly.
That's something. See, I learned something too. I know.
We're just rocking and rolling here. You're learning all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff
I'm
here.
telling you, yeah.
So this court thing, obviously, who decides? The judge? Or, I mean, there's no jury here.
Well, in the lower level district courts, it's always a judge who decides how much money, or first of all, who wins, and then if the plaintiff or the person injured wins, how much compensation that individual is entitled to receive, and a judgment is entered.
Judge just says.
Judge just comes out, he comes to the bench, or she comes to the bench and offers judgment for the plaintiff in the amount $17,312.14. And
Got it.
that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
That's what you got to do. The
Right.
insurance